my rib. So I'm just following the tar paper pattern. Okay, and I can peel off the extra clay. If this clay is still workable into a mass, please just kind of squish it back together and have some plastic that you can shove it into. If it's too dry, if it's on its way to being leather hard in any way, shape, or form, just throw it into the recycling bin and we will pick it up later. Apparently I didn't make it all the way through. There we go. So a couple tricks for getting this up and together. So I've got my slab, so it's going to roll up to be this cup shape. Okay. I'm already on the plastic, so I can just fold the plastic over the edge. It's going to be the drinking edge, and I can compress this down. I'm just tapering the edge, and that's also giving it some nice compression of those particles back and in that we just exposed, so that we can hopefully help reduce the cracking. Okay, and then I can undo it and I have this really nice soft edge. You can try just picking it up on the plastic. This can be a strategy to, if it's hard for you to pick up the slab, the plastic will kind of give you a little bit of extra something. And you could start to roll it in the plastic. By having the plastic on the outside, that's going to help prevent some of that case hardening, so that could be a strategy for you. If you feel pretty good about its consistency and you're ready to go, you can just, arc it over and stand it up, and then start to work this thing together. So this is this slab's pretty wet, right? So I'm able to, and because I had it on the plastic, I'm able to bend it pretty easily, and because it's nice and thin. So I would say, if those of you who had trouble getting your slab to come in on itself, try rolling your, try rolling your slab a little bit thinner and work on the plastic, don't work on the canvas. Okay, does that make sense? And I think maybe trying those two little tricks might help, because I really didn't have any trouble. I have some really tiny little, I'm just gonna bend it in a little bit more and overlap it just a smidge here. I'm trying to overlap it about 1/4 inch all the way up. And again, if your slab's a little bit thinner, it's gonna be easier to do that. I'm gonna flip it over and just see what's happening here. Because it's a wider form at the base, this also if you flip it over, this will provide you with a little bit more stability when you're making the cut. So I've got that overlapped, and then I can come with, maybe some of you were saying that you were having trouble making it through both pieces of clay because maybe the knife wasn't long enough. Either find a longer knife, right? These are great. This is definitely going to get through. Just retract it when you're done, or you can use this rib. This rib is like a great little knife in many ways. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to kind of go corner to corner on it, right? So if you can see that in the video, I don't know if you guys can see that there. So I'm across the corner to corner, and because I'm a little bit more stable, I can start to cut through this. You have to kind of support it on the back side. You might have to kind of cut some and then not, or you can switch to a bigger knife, which might work even better. And I'm just trying to overlap this and make that 45-degree angle cut all the way down. And I was successful in some areas and not in others. So I'm just gonna cut this little bump. Okay. Right, so now I've got that 45-degree angle, and these guys meet up pretty nicely all the way down. I'm gonna have to fudge it a little bit, but, right? So that seam's not, that's not a terrible seam, right? So just, you know, it just may mean you need a little bit longer edge there. Okay. So that's gonna work. It's a little bit of a crooked form right now, but I'm gonna be able to fix that, right? When we put the foot ring on. So it's a little bit wobbly, and you may find that, you know, this is the stage you can get to. This might be a little wobbly for me to actually slip and score together, but it's already curved and round, and I could let it set up a little bit, right? So you don't have to, I mean, you don't have to make it all at the same time. It might be that you roll all of your slabs, and this is what I would suggest, is that you work in a series on these. You're going to get these done in a shorter amount of time if you roll out all the slabs and prep them, cut them all out, fold them all up, you know? I fold this one up, I can go and do my second one, fold that one up, go get this one folded up, so that by the time I'm done with that fourth one, I can come back and this is pretty perfect to put together, right? And so then I can come and just open this back up a little bit and come back in. You can go ahead and do your slipping and scoring with your needle tool, with a knife, a fork that maybe you bring from home, right? So I'm gonna get those, or the dining hall. I'm not advocating you steal cutlery, but plus. Do they really? Only the freshmen, because they figure they get you for it once and then don't do it again.
They figure it's the freshmen do it, not the upperclassmen, when it's mostly upperclassmen.
That's funny. Plastic cutlery works great too, or go to Salvation Army and get yourself like a 25-cent fork. Done.
It's gonna be like on your bill, it'll be like $1. Like it's weird. It like starts to add up though.
Okay, so I've got so this is, you know, I was using like the edge of a pencil to glue these together. I just got some of the studio slip from the bucket to the back. You can also come with a brush. This is another tidy way to just hit your seam with a little bit of slip. Okay, and then I'm going to come back and score it again, right? Just working that slip into the seam so that it's nice and sticky as opposed to sloppy and slippery, okay? And then I'm gonna come just working from the bottom and overlapping it, and I'm just kind of setting the seam right now, right? I'm just lining it up. I'm not really making any big squishing or gathering movements. I just wanna start overlapping it and getting it together. This is where my paddle might come in, right? So you could come and just gently paddle that seam. This is a very wiggly cup. I would let this set up before I would work on it again, if I were you. But I'm not, and I want to show you how to do this. So I'm just gonna struggle bust it through, right? So again, flipping it upside down gives it a better kind of stable strength. And I can start to gently, I'm trying to gently make that overlap kind of taper in, right? And I'm looking and I'm seeing that little tiny bit of slip that's squishing out as I'm working that seam. Okay, I can flip it back over. I can use the bottom again of that wooden knife and just come on the inside and do the same thing, right? I'm just working the one seam. When it's really wet like this, what I'm doing right now is probably opening that seam back up. So when I work one side, I do have to come back and work the other one back in. And if your seams are kind of triangular or pushing out, it's maybe a combination of not overlapping it enough, but also maybe you're spending too much time on the inside and it's pushing it that way and then not coming back to the outside. So it's this give take. It's not like I do the outside and I'm done with it. It's I've got to do something, respond to it, do something, respond to it. You know, so I want you to, you know, I would recommend starting them today, this afternoon, this evening, before you go out. Come in here, roll out your slabs, get them thin, stack, you know, compress them, fold them up in plastic. Then you're ready to go when you come in tomorrow after breakfast or brunch, however it works for you all, right? Right? So then you can come in and you can get your cups into this state, right? And then you can come in the next day and you can do your bottom. You know, you can parse it out, but I would do all four at once. Does that make sense? So I've got this form loosely together. I am going to steal a little bit of my slab over here for my base. Okay, so I should have saved some of my extra for my base and I didn't. So I'm just gonna quickly compress this. And maybe you have an extra slab just for bottoms, who knows, right? The nice thing about doing it out of the same thickness slab is that it's the same thickness as your wall, and that's an important piece. We always want things to be as similar as possible in thickness, because they'll dry better, more evenly. So I'm gonna just draw a circle around, just tracing the edge, right? And then I can just come and I can cut it, right? So I could even cut it with this. I can cut it with a pencil, I can cut it with a knife, whatever you want to do. Dana, you said you were having some trouble with this?
No, me.
Oh, sorry, Michaela. What were some of the challenges?
I think I just made it really thick because I pushed
Okay.
clay like on top of each other.
Okay.
So when I was like molding it and scoring it, it wasn't sticking.
It wasn't sticking, it was just too
Yeah.
much. So thinner slabs,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and again, you wouldn't know that if you hadn't done it, which is why I asked you to do 2 already, so that you can apply and be like, oh yeah. And it's always good to see it and then see it again, right? So I'm cleaning up that edge, and then remember that I'm also going and compressing the edge of this circle, right? Just with my fingers. You could throw it in plastic and smooth it that way too, just like you did with the rim. And that's compressing the edges so cracks don't start there. And maybe through this process too, you make it a little bit bigger, so you could always double check if you wanted to remove more material from one place or the other, okay? So maybe I take a little smidge right there. Yeah. So right now I'm just mapping out, I'm getting the right kind of size. And I want it to be a little bit more generous than the size or the width of the bottom, because I am going to combine them together, and in compressing them is going to make them smaller, right? So yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I've got that lined up pretty nicely, so I'm just going to make a couple registration marks so I know where this fits perfectly. Then I don't have like slip on it and I'm trying to like figure it out and smushing it. Right, so now I can take this apart, I'm going to flip it upside down, and then I can come in and I can score up this base. Yeah, whenever you join 2 pieces of clay together that have done any drying, you always want to slip and score, because they've done some shrinkage. And so we want to make sure that they are going to stick to each other. On, okay? And then I can just take it and tap it a little bit. I don't want to tap it so much that this bottom part's going to start bulging out, but I am going to tap it a little bit so it sticks, and then I can flip this baby over, and then come back with the paddle and just kind of paddle that seam just a little bit. And I'm just starting to curl that clay kind of around the edge just a little bit. And then I can come back with my fingers, and I'm looking for that slip to kind of ooze out, right? You know, maybe now that my cup's set up just a little bit, I'm gonna come and just compress that seam a little bit more with the paddle. The paddle's nice because, you know, it's the same, right? You know, that's the same kind of shape that we're making here, so it helps kind of take away the squishiness of our fingers, right? I am going to spend just a little moment here trying to combine my seam at the top, supporting from the back side and just tugging some of that clay over. Again, that's going to be a place that these cups want to open up, so you want to spend a little extra attention really getting that seam together. I can even start probably doing a little of that tugging of the clay now that this is set up a little bit. Just really kind of working the thing together. Okay. And then this is where I'm going to leave it.